Hey golfers, have you heard what's new in Pengilly? Come play over 600 courses or work on your swing utilizing state-of-the-art Foresight technology. Open by appointment only. Follow our Facebook page, Swan Simulator Golf and Club Repair, for information, specials, and monthly tournaments.
Welcome everybody to the week of Hockey Day in Minnesota, and welcome everybody to the It's Ms McGill Show. It is Puka speaking. It is the star of the show, Reed Larson. We are once again brought to you by our friends over at Fortune Bay Resort and Casino. Make plans today. President's Day weekend's coming. You know, the ice has been on the lakes for a while, so some of you guys been out there fishing, been kind of neglecting the wife. Bring her to Fortune Bay for a weekend, for a night, get your game on. As a matter of fact, they've got their little rentals out there right now. I saw for ice fishing. You can do a little house rental, then go spend the night at the bay. Like I said, get your game on, treat the wife, have a good time. And like I said, President's Day, the long weekend's coming. Fortune Bay, of course, has 172 rooms and a smoke-free resort environment. Indoor pool for full-service marina, RV park, world-class golf, several dining options, bar. Said the 24/7 game is the most important. Visit fortunebay.com for more details and plan your trip up to Fortune Bay today. Say, get a walleye up on the line while you're at it. All right, episode 77. We're officially 10 weeks into the boys high school hockey
77.
season. 77.
We're climbing. We're getting closer to Hundy there, Puka.
So
We're climbing.
Who are some of the greats? 77. Paul Coffey. Right, wasn't he 77?
Raymond Bork.
Bork, 77.
Yeah, there's a few that fall into that
I'm trying to
category.
think if there's any 77.
I'm sure there's a few that are slipping my mind.
Yeah,
The two that I
exactly.
think of are two of the some fantastic defensemen.
Yeah. So if you know someone 77, throw them in the comments right now. So like I said, we're rocking and rolling. We're getting close to the home stretch, of course, here. We've got merch. We've got a YouTube page. And of course, we have subscribers, new subscribers this week. Josh Berg, Jim Rich, and Cal Motherway. So be just like them. Subscribe today. And for all of you that have followed, subscribed, we appreciate that. We appreciate you. All right, we're going to get into it here with our game of the week, brought to you by the Ring Sports Bar and Grill over in Evelett, just on from the Hockey Hall of Fame. Use your gift card. We told you about the gift cards. Great deal. It's time to use them. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, full bar, full menu. Friday fish fry, my favorite as always. Daily specials, hockey-themed establishment, 248-8582. Give Michelle a call, ringsportsbarandgrill.com. And of course, it's getting to be time for that end of the season banquet. High school hockey, youth hockey, everywhere in between, or different sport, even girls basketball, boys basketball, whatever it is. They've got the breakout rooms there at the Ring Sports Bar and Grill. 248-8582. Reserve your spot today. All right. We talked a little bit last week. You mentioned Rock Ridge, and you said, you know, the schedule's a little bit tougher for them. There's a little bit more meat on the bone because they're going to be getting into some common opponents as far as AA seeding for Section 7 AA. After disposing of the Proctor Rails Thursday night, where all 5 goals were scored in the third period, Rock Ridge went down to Duluth East on Saturday, drops an OT game against the 6-11-1 Duluth East Greyhound. As far as seeding, this one hurts a little.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, like we said last week, and I tried to make a little bit of a point about this, is that, you know, don't want to take anything away from a team that's having a great year. You know, at that point in time, they had 12 wins, only 2 losses and a tie, and having a great year. And you want to make sure that you, especially when you're talking about kids, you pump them up for doing that. That's an awesome record at that point in the season. The thing that the coaches are looking at and the rest of the section is looking at is, what do they got coming down the pike here? What do those wins look like? Who did they beat at the beginning of the year? They did have a couple that were some big wins at the beginning of the year that maybe people discounted a little bit. They beat Little Falls 2-1. Little Falls is a good hockey team. Well, Falls Flyers right there.
Yeah, we'll talk
That's
about
a good
that
hockey
later.
team that they beat early in the season. And then the next night, I believe the day after, they head down to the MAC in St. Cloud and they beat who at one point in time was rated number 3 in single A, St. Cloud Cathedral. The only teams up to the last couple that they had lost to were number 1 in the state for single A and number 2 in the state single A. World they lost to, and Hermantown they lost to. So they had been put into a string of good wins together. And of course, you can't fault them for the losses that they'd taken to those top 2 teams in single A. But again, there's some games that they played in there too, where maybe not necessarily the greatest teams. For instance, International Falls is at a struggle at the moment. They pumped International Falls 15-1, right? Cambridge Isani, they beat 6-4. That's a section game. That's a decent game. Mount West Tonka, North Shore, they ripped 10-0. So, I mean, whether the teams are down or Rock Ridge was hot, some of these games are not necessarily the biggest challenge. Some of these challenging games down the pike, though, like I mentioned last week, are going to end up making the difference in the seeding. And you mentioned one of them. They do have another matchup. So just this last Saturday, and I didn't get a chance to call this game on my nine. Thank goodness Blake Mortensen was able to fill in for me. Did a nice job coloring that up. As in between periods while we're playing Hill Murray, coaches are going into the locker room and into the coaches' room and pulling up the stream and watching a little bit of the Rock Ridge game. That's a big game. And to be honest with you, it was back and forth the whole night long from what we watched. In between periods and even up to the overtime. It was back and forth. It was a well-played hockey game by Rock Ridge on both sides. The home team ended up winning at the Heritage Center on the account of, from what I hear, kind of a controversial overtime goal. However, they don't ask how, they ask how many, and it was still a win for Duluth East. Duluth East has had a struggling year, but they beat some teams they needed to beat. They did beat Rock Ridge in the section. They get a chance to play them again next Saturday in Virginia. They did beat Forest Lake, who Grand Rapids lost to early in the season. Hopefully that was nullified by a couple of pretty big wins here and a sweep over Duluth East, right? But again, taking a look at some of the games here down the pike, and I mentioned that this ending part of the season is really going to make a difference as to, is Rock Ridge going to land somewhere in the mix of the top 4 seeds, or are they going to land somewhere in the mix of 5, 6, or 7? Right. And these games matter because, again, tomorrow night I'll be on the call. I'm going to be down in Virginia, ready to call Rock Ridge, or excuse me, I'll be down in Duluth at the Heritage calling the game with Rock Ridge versus Denfeld. So Rock Ridge making the trip back to the Heritage Center tomorrow night. They're going to play Denfeld for the second time. If you remember the first time they played Denfeld, they beat Denfeld 3-1. That was a tight game. So this is going to be another game, and you're going into their barn. It's going to be another big game. They need to sweep that game. They need to prove it. Come out of that with a win. They're thinking, that was a controversial goal in overtime. We had Duluth East. We were playing them well. The good news is they're going to get to play Duluth East again. East is going to make the trek up to the range. They're going to play there at the Iron Trail Motors Center there in Virginia, and they get a chance to match up against Duluth East again. So there's a chance there where they can beat Denfeld. They can get the split and find themselves somewhere in the top 5. Okay. But they also, after that, are going to play Duluth Marshall, who's played teams in the section and is having a decent year. They're trying to still make a statement for themselves. Then they come back and they play Brainerd, who has a common opponent with some of the teams that are in their section. For instance, Grand Rapids just played Brainerd last night. We'll talk about that when Rapids comes out with a 4-0 win. So that's a common opponent in comparison when you don't play that team. Okay. They also have Northern Edge coming in, who is a section team likely sitting at the bottom of the section right now. Out of the 10 teams that are in it, they're probably sitting at the 10 seed. And of course, they play Hibbing Chisholm.
Yep.
Chisholm Hibbing.
Yeah.
They play them the last game of the season. And again, that's a common opponent with teams in the section.
And that's a rivalry game. You never know.
You really don't. So the point that Puka's making is it isn't a shot to a team that's having a good year. It's actually just, hey, just so you know, the latter portion of your schedule is either going to make or break where you end up in the playoffs. That's one or the other. And I actually like the way your schedule is set up, Rock Ridge, because the schedule that you have playing teams that are higher towards the end of the year is going to have you prepared for playing playoff pace. Bottom line.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then last night, the Cloquet game.
Yeah, there was, again, so Rock Ridge went on a ring there where at one point they were 12-2-1, and they ended up losing to Duluth East. And then just last night, they lost to Cloquet Carleton 4-1, who again is a common opponent with some of the teams that are in the section.
They just seem to be all over.
They're hot and cold.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, Cloquet came out when Grand Rapids went there the other night here last week and played them a week ago. Cloquet was tough.
Yeah.
They were tough to play against. We had to beat them in overtime, for crying out loud.
And let's face it, a lucky bounce.
Again,
You
a
know,
bounce,
skate or
a
leg
bounce
or
that we
something.
had going our way. And again, it came down to a bounce. It could have been a bounce one way or the other with Rock Ridge and Duluth East. So at any rate, that's 2 in the last 4 games that they've dropped, but you still can't discount the great beginning of the season and the challenges that you have ahead of you. I think those challenges are a good thing for that program because they're going to be prepared for the playoffs.
All right, let's move on unless you got anything else.
Nope.
All right, smack the like button right now. Let's talk a little bit of scholarships here, Reed. Is that getting to be that time of year? Scholarship season is here, and the Blandon Foundation is accepting applications for its scholarship program until March 1st. So kids, be listening to this. March 1st, got about a month. Blandon Foundation scholarships offer support of $1,000 up to $6,000 per year. Per year, kids. Scholarship staff can get you connected with other resources to help you reach the finish line for your educational goals. Students can use Blandon Foundation scholarships for any type of school after high school. Certificate programs, community, technical, or tribal college, and 4-year colleges and universities. Students who have graduated or are graduating from an Itasca County school, including Black Duck, North Home, Buggy-Nageeshig, Hill City, and Northern Reamer, can apply. So can homeschooled or online schooled students who have graduated from one of those schools. Students can apply for a scholarship until they are 25 or have completed a bachelor's degree. So if you have taken some time off and want to return to school, you can still apply and receive support. You must reapply for the scholarship, each year you plan to attend school. You can apply in 3 easy steps. Get your FAFSA submission report, also known as the student aid report. Ask Blandon scholarship staff if you need help. Get your household's 2022 tax form and fill out the online application at www.blandonfoundation.org/scholarships. Whether you're YouTube or Facebook and we're podcasting us, just go down in the show notes, click the link. We got it right there. It'll bring you right over to Blandon's website and you can complete that application right there. So like I said, applications are due March 1st, so do not delay. All right. So another thing we were kind of talking about a little bit last week and the week before, we've got kind of what you call it, like a little wolf pack, I guess you'd maybe call it out there. I Falls, Greenway, Moose Lake, Willow River, North Shore, and Ely. So I'm going to babble through. I'm going to like verbally vomit here a few things, some stats. You can look these up on your own. But Falls over Greenway, 3-0 last Thursday. We've highlighted that. Ely swept the Falls this year. Ely lost to Greenway. Falls beat Greenway. North Shore tied and beat Greenway and beat Ely. Okay. So what I'm saying is there's this kind of this ball there that's kind of going. And what I was kind of getting out of it, I'm wondering if the leader of this pack come playoff time ends up being the 12-8 Ely Timberwolves. You like that?
It's interesting. It's not, you're not far from the truth there. I mean, in fact, you're pretty close. They have an argument for the first time in 2 decades to be seated somewhere other than the bottom of the section.
Right.
They've actually beat a couple teams. I feel bad for some of the teams that are down and out, that have struggled this year with numbers and injuries. Feel horrible for Greenway. I feel horrible for International Falls. They're storied programs. They've been struggling with numbers, but you got to be kind of excited that an organization like Ely has been able to hang on through all of this tough stuff. I mean, they've been at the bottom of the barrel for 2 decades,
right?
3.
And that's why we're bringing it up.
Yeah,
like, can
they might.
It's big for their program, and they're literally at the end of the road. There's a little plot of land north of there called the Boundary Waters Canoe Area. You're literally at the end of Highway 169. Like I said, they kept the program alive.
It's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there, is what you're saying. If Ely's not the end of the world, but if you go there, you might be able to see the edge.
I agree. So we'll keep, and many of these teams, they have games. They'll play each other again, before the end of the year here, but there's a smorgasbord of games and everybody's beating everybody and everyone's losing everybody. And it's really interesting. As a matter of fact, to add to the drama, North Shore visits I Falls tomorrow night. So we'll see kind of what happens there, but we'll, just stay tuned to the 2th Ms. McGill. We'll have all the details. So the playoffs are right around the corner here. So we'll have all the details for you. So you want to subscribe right now and pound that like button. All right, we're gonna move on to the previews now. Presented by Iron Range Apparel over in the Thunder Mall over in Virginia. ODR, of course, stands for Outdoor Rink, but they got the cool apparel. So if you're looking for something, we call it the Gift Buyer's Paradise, looking for somebody for he, she, him, her, boy, girl, dad, grandpa, grandma, anybody, there's something there for them. If you don't want to get the hockey themed stuff, there's plenty of Minnesota themed apparel. They got like the lumberjack hats, they got the lumberjack jackets, they got some of the Hams beer stuff's really cool, real popular seller. So if you're looking for something, Thunderbird Mall, Iron Ridge Apparel, and like I said, playoffs are coming, so you want to look really cool at the rink. So get your ODR gear today. All right, another big weekend. You guys have a lot of big weekends. You continue to have some big weekends, but
Yeah.
some more coming up here. So Maple Grove, St. Thomas, heading north again this weekend up here to Yanmar. Thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? Maple Grove is a team that's, again, it's a common opponent for us since we do get a chance to play Andover, but Maple Grove plays Andover. We play Maple Grove as well too. Andover actually beat them 1-0 a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of shows us, it gives us a gauge. If we can play in a game and play well, come out of it with a game like that, it proves to our kids that we can play and be at the same level as Andover. So it's a proof is in the pudding kind of game for us. They're still a rated team in the state right now, and it's the type of team that I think that if the Thunderhawks come out and play the way they did against White Bear Lake on Friday night, they're going to give themselves a chance to win. And I think that's a big W and a big chance to keep climbing at the end of the year with a team that's sitting at 10-9-1 in Grand Rapids. Senior night on Saturday. St. Thomas Academy comes to town, and that's a 3:00 game. It's a 1 and 3:00 game, 1 JV, 3 varsity, and it's going to be fun to see good old Mike Randolph back in the building and heading up as the head cheese of St. Thomas Academy. He was up here a couple of years ago, but he was the assistant coach. He was the JV coach. And at the same time, I was coaching the JV for Rapids and got a chance to coach against him. So it was fun. And actually, I think I lost that game.
No, you didn't.
I think I did.
There's a lot of coaches in that situation.
Well, listen, I'm not the only one. I would be in good company if you're a coach that said I lost a game to Mike Randolph. There's a lot of them that lost a game to Mike Randolph. Right. But at any rate, that's going to be a fun weekend. It's going to, again, St. Thomas Academy has been clipping into the top 10 here for the last couple of weeks as far as being a rated AA team in the state. They've been climbing. They could be anywhere from 6 to 8, rated 6 to 7, 8 right now in the state. So depending on what you're looking at. And that's going to be, it's going to be a test. We play those games so that we're playing at a high speed and a high pace. And we want to see state tournament level teams because that's what we're looking for. And if we continue to play those teams, when we go into the section games that we're playing, we're going to be playing at a pace that many teams aren't going to be able to keep up with. So that's kind of the idea behind it. It is going to be senior night that night. It's one of those special nights. Yeah. One of those special nights that we get a chance to honor some special kids that have meant a lot to our program. And for me, it's going to be even more special because I've been with that group of seniors for 4 years. I had them when I was a AA Bantam coach. Then I had them as JV. Some of them jumped right to varsity right away, but it was still part of the high school program. Then I had them as a junior last year, and now I have them as senior this year. So they mean a lot to me. So it's going to be kind of fun to see those guys and have them walk through with their parents and honor those guys. But again, about the business, it's going to be a big game this weekend, and 2 of them back to back right there at Yanmar Arena.
And then, of course, Coach Randolph reported on just a couple of weeks ago, 700th win it was. So he's somewhere, 702, 703, 704.
Yeah, he's gonna break into the record by the end of the year and be close to the number 1 spot. I think the number 2 spot is like 704, 706 or something like that. And I think number 1 might be close to the 17 teens somewhere in there. It might be. I know who the guys are. One of them is the guy that used to coach at Rochester Mayo for a bunch of years. The other one is Roy Nystrom, who coached at Albert Lee for a bunch of years. Former Eveleth name there.
Michaela, him.
Yep. So that's going to be Randolph. Whether he gets the top spot by the end of this season or he gets it next year, he's going to be the all-time winningest high school hockey coach in the history of the state of Minnesota.
Well, let me repeat that just because we do a listen social. Eichela. What's the gentleman's name for Albert Lee?
Well, that's Roy Nystrom.
Okay, Nystrom, Eichela, Jeff Terrell. We got to keep him in there, right?
Yeah,
we got to throw him in there. We got to throw him in the mix. All right.
Okay.
All right, and also, like I said at the top of the show, Hockey Day in Minnesota. I'm sure you've seen many on many of the social channels going on up in World this year. And I haven't seen the schedules like this. It was, this one's really laid out, but it's more than just World. We got Waseca playing Thief River Falls tomorrow night. World girls play tomorrow against Lakeville North, but Waseca and Thief River Falls are getting them involved. Lake of the Woods, Kitson County Central, also tomorrow night. Friday, Concordia College hosting St. Olaf up there. So getting the MIAC involved, I think is very cool. Rosa Ward alumni. Now, we know a lot of alumni. I talked to a few alumni on both sides. Guys our age, hey, you're playing in the game. I'm not playing in the game.
You didn't get picked.
They didn't get picked. Yeah. So I'm like, what do you mean?
Who's playing
Yeah,
in it?
yeah,
You're bringing TJ Oshie home for a
this
weekend.
thing's gonna be a bloodbath. I mean,
The Capitals are going to have to scratch him. He's a healthy scratch because he's got to come back to World and play in the All-Star game.
yeah, Brock Nelson, scratching the Islanders. Yeah,
You're done.
yeah. As a matter of fact, 500th point.
Yeah, Brock Nelson was just recognized, I think, last night for getting his 500th career NHL point. First round draft pick a bunch of years ago
Yes.
from Warroad High School.
Yeah, and he's a
That's
Christian.
awesome.
For those of you that don't know,
He's part of the Dave Christian hockey sticks family up there in Warroad.
Yeah. So anyway, that's like I said, Friday night, and they got bands Thursday night, band Friday night, band Saturday night. But it will be a celebration of hockey. What do they call themselves? Hockey Town.
Hockey Town USA.
Hockey Town USA. So really cool. Great job. Looking forward to it. Warroad. I'm sure you guys will be great hosts. And like I said, I kind of like the way they're getting everybody involved. But you guys, Warroad, our alumni guys, just be careful. Not too much blood on the ice. There will be kids in the stands. Just take it easy. All right?
Yeah, let's not fight each other.
All right. You can go walleye fishing together on Sunday. All right.
Yeah, it's going to be nice and warm this weekend. So careful getting out there on the Lake of the Woods there.
All right. And I also want to mention Chisholm Hibbing, Crookston, Thief River. So they're kind of up in that area. I don't know if they plan on going up and watching anything, but they're also up north.
If I were anywhere within an hour of that place and I didn't have games to coach, I'd be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm out of town this weekend, so I won't be able to make it up there either. All right, Scores and More, presented by Aspire Heating and Control, your local Bryant dealer. And Bryant is the official heating and cooling company of your Minnesota Wild. Aspire specializes in gas, electric, and hydronic heating and cooling systems for existing and new construction. Residential and commercial installations available. Services include forced air systems, boilers, heat pumps, mini splits. They are, of course, licensed and bonded. So give Justin a call, 218-999-5957, 218-999-5957. All right. Per College Hockey Inc. Got this little stat here this week. NCAA men's regionals are set through 2026. And with that setting, which was done recently, it will be 10 years. By the time we get done with this 2026, it will be 10 years since a regional has been held in the state of hockey in the state of Minnesota. I think it's ridiculous. Thoughts?
They have to have one here. When you got as many NCAA teams as we have here, it's an absolute no-brainer.
Right.
Why wouldn't it and this is my question for the NCAA. Don't you like money?
Right. Well,
you don't like money? You don't like selling tickets?
And if you go back and look at our feed, I posted, they're out in New Hampshire for one of those regionals last year. I took a picture of the TV. Nobody in the grass. Nobody in the grass. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You have to have a regional in the state of hockey. If money at all is the tail that wags the dog for the NCAA, if you like money at all, then use your brain.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, like Thief River. I mean, they got a beautiful rink up there. Put a bid in Thief River, Memorial Building, Mac, Amsoil, Sanford. The bids are out now for beyond 2026 is what I've heard. So get your bids in. Let's get some hockey back in Minnesota. I agree with you. It seems absolutely ridiculous that 10 years, a whole decade, that regional has not been held in Minnesota. All right, some news on Mark Manny.
Mark Manny, Andover head coach, been there for a number of years, made some trips to the state tournament here over the course of the last 5 years. I think back to back trips. I won a state championship in there in 2022. Mark Manny just hit a point in his coaching career with 250 wins. That's a pretty good spot for that former Moorhead Spud. You know, he's from Moorhead.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep. So we heard this a while back that when we had Grant Clafton on as an interview with us, he talked about Brett Barta, the assistant coach, and says, they listen to the podcast. And I said, oh, they listen to our podcast? All right. So we gave him a little bit of a poke back then just to kind of see if we can light a fire and keep listening to us. And we want to make sure now that we give Andover and Mark Manny a pat on the back for a job well done. And congratulations on 250 wins, man. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is totally awesome. All right. Then Little Falls hockey, you can see the hat I had on. I had the pleasure of playing with a bunch of boys Myself, referee Jake Doherty, referee Drew Walters. We had the pleasure of playing with some boys from Little Falls. Riley Hirsch gave me this hat. He's the leader of the champions, ended up being the champions. And we talked about that fundraiser tournament they had over in Hibbing last week. So we said, hey, can you give Little Falls boys a shout out? So I want to give them a shout out. And I also want to just give a shout out because this group of Little Falls guys has been coming at, I met Riley, I would say at least like a half a dozen years ago. So just a thank you to all you guys for coming. You raised, I mean, if you just say, I don't know, say it was five, I don't know, say the average has been $500 a team for the last 6, 7, 8 years, whatever. They put 3,000, 3,500, maybe up to $4,000 into the coffers of Chisholm youth hockey. So we just want to thank you for coming up. We appreciate that support. And then, like I said, here is your shout out, not just to Little Falls Youth Hockey, but for being the champs this year, the AAA division of the Palmer's Hockey Classic.
I recognize that hat when I was down over, I don't know if it was over Christmas break or when it was making a trip from someplace. Oh, I was bringing my parents to the airport when they were flying out to go to Arizona. On my ride back, I have to pass through Little Falls, and my brother Craig actually kind of helps on the side there with their high school team. So I stopped in there and I saw the coaching staff. I saw head coach Joe Janowski, talked to the assistant coaches, and of course my brother is one of the assistants. Those guys were wearing that. They were wearing that hat right there.
I'm in a special league.
Official staff swag.
Oh, geez, I didn't realize that. Riley, you didn't fill me in. Gosh, it's feeling.
Yeah, you could. You actually could stand on the bench and pretend to be a coach if you wanted to.
Oh gosh, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. I assure you. All right, some scores and more from the week that was. Bemidji blasted by Roseau 7-3. Denfeld down by East Grand Forks for Rip. Greenway back on the board. 2-1 win over Lake of the Woods.
Good for you.
Proctor with a win over Ely 9-1. Marshall winners over Mora-Malacca 7-3. Hermantown pounded Souptown 6-0. Chisholm Hibbing over Marshall 3-0. And drum roll, please. Walleye Scott CFP Edina Hornets update. 4-1 win over the Trojans of Wayzata. So
yeah, and a couple other ones that maybe we didn't get into. And we try not to talk too much about the same team all the time, but it seems to come up. There's just a couple scores that maybe we didn't do the actual review of the games. We won't have to get into it, but last week it was a 2-0 loss for Grand Rapids to White Bear Lake, and then the next night a loss in overtime 4-3 to Hill Murray.
A tight one there.
Yep, but last night making the road trip down to Brainerd. Grand Rapids gets the 4-0 win over Brainerd Warriors. So
yeah,
and back on the board with the W.
And that's the team that I want to say a couple of weeks ago, and someone can comment, but I think that's the one that, remember we said Cloquet inched into the top 10, and I think they went to Brainerd, and I think Brainerd
ripped them 7-0.
Is that what it was? Oh,
7
okay,
rip.
that is okay. Yeah, so there it is. So Brainerd could show some life too. All right, anything to add? Episode 77.
No, I think this was a good one. I like that number too. 77 is a fantastic number. Good episode. Get out there. If you're not able to get up to Warroad to get to Hockey Day this weekend, flip on that TiVo, record that stuff. I'm going to do that as soon as I get an opportunity to save that stuff. And when I get a Sunday, I'll just sit down after church and I'll watch the entire all day long, just watch all of the different clips. The games are one thing. It's fun to watch those games, and I like all of the stuff in between.
Sure.
The stories that they talk about, and I can't wait to see what they come up with as far as stories when they talk about Henry Boucher, when they're talking about TJ Oshie, when they get into talking about the Marvins. I can't wait to hear the stories they pull out of there. It's going to be awesome to watch all that Hockey Day stuff. And guess what? If you're in town here for the weekend, then pop your nose into Yanmar Arena. You have a couple of good matchups for high school hockey.
Yeah, a couple of top 10 teams. And then repeat again now. You tomorrow night on My 9?
Yeah, tomorrow night.
Heritage.
Tomorrow night, Bob and I will be at the Heritage Center, and we'll be ready to bring Rock Ridge versus Denfeld. Matchup number 2. First one went to Rock Ridge at home, 3-1. Let's see what happens for number 2
on the road. All right. Please comment. We appreciate your comments. If you want to contact us more privately, Goatsportsmediallc at gmail.com. Hammer, follow, subscribe. We appreciate all that. Find us, Tea with Ms. McGill on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the Musi app. It's T McGill on Twitter or X. Goat Sports Media LLC. If you're looking for us on Facebook and or YouTube, leave us a review on Facebook if you could. Like I said, we got merch, $20 for a tee. Just get a hold of us, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. You got something?
I do want to make a shout out. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt you. That we just mentioned the score of the Rapids Brainerd game last night down there, and just a huge congratulations to Ryder Miskovich for coming out with the shutout last night
Oh, nice.
in Brainerd. He's played 4 high school varsity games. He's got 4 wins and he's got at least 1 shutout.
Oh,
I think
good for
there
you.
might be another one in there somewhere too.
Attaboy, Ryder.
Yeah,
All right.
fantastic for him.
All right. Partners, greatest partners on earth, the Ring Sports Bar and Grill, the Blenheim Foundation, Iron Range Apparel and ODR Apparel, Fortune Bay Resort and Casino, Aspire Heating and Control, Iron Range Goalie Academy, and Team Minnesota Hockey. For Reed Larson, I am Puka. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the Tea with Ms. McGill Show.